The Broncos are up next. They've had
Oh,
an
your
interesting
team.
offseason.
Here we go. Yeah, obviously. And the big thing, I mean, I won't belabor this point because I've discussed it on here. I've written about it a ton, which is this Wilson Hackett dynamic, which is really everything, right? It's like if those guys can gel quickly, the thing the Broncos can't have, because Hackett runs that specific thing and because Wilson runs his specific thing, and we don't know which one they're going to go with yet or a blend of the two. And typically you'd say do a blend of the two, right? Find your own voice over the course of a season. And this is a team where you just look at them and say they redid the defense a little bit. Obviously, the offense will be so different with Russell Wilson back there than Drew Lock. You would say, okay, if they can just keep in the race by the second half, this is a classic second half of the season team. That would be the kind of cliche you would go to. And yet you cannot be a second half of the season team in the AFC West. If you get curb stomped in the first 4 weeks, it is a wrap, right?
Mm-hmm. That schedule's difficult. Now, I don't have it in front of me, but the last 7 or 8 weeks is brutal. And this is one thing. The team is going from 4 or 5 years of no playoffs. They've got a new owner. The Walton family's buying the team, subject to approval. There's all this stuff going on, and boom, Russell Wilson comes in, and suddenly the Peyton Manning era spotlight's back on the team. They've got 5 or 6 late games. I think there's a lot of pressure on this team, and I think there's a lot of what ifs. And I'm not going to even start in Russell Wilson. For me, it's Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy was drafted with the promise of being an incredible wide receiver in this league. You know, heading to Canton before even his first game, almost. I'm only joking, but he didn't score a touchdown last year, and he's already now got to the point where he's talking about, oh, this is going to be my year. I can feel it. Justin Simmons is backing him up. You know, it's the buck really stops when you're bringing in, like, you know, all these youthful coaches. Nathaniel Hackett, I wish I had a quarter of his energy. The buck stops this season, and if they can't get over the line in that, like, forget about the division. They should be trying to go to Arrowhead and win. At the end of the day, they should be expecting to, with Russell Wilson, the quarterback. They've got those 2 games against the Raiders, 2 against the Chargers, 2 against the Chiefs. For that team, and for any team in the AFC West, they have to win those games if they want to get to the playoffs, never mind win the AFC West. I personally think Ollie Noah is going to be a massive miss for that team. 4 touchdowns last year. Albert Okwuegbunam needs to try and improve that. They brought in Greg Dulwich. He's probably the biggest miss. But look, Russell Wilson, I think the excuses have to stop now for all the Broncos fans that have been given off for years about we're a player away. They're probably not, to be honest with you.
No, what's weird with, I mean, I think they'll just be a juggernaut on offense. They're so loaded. Sutton, Patrick, you mentioned Jeudy. I think they will be dynamite on offense. Now, whether they are with this dynamic I've detailed between Hackett and Wilson, whether they're kind of an every drive type offense the first year, I don't imagine they will be. But will they be a team that can just score points in gluts when they have the right plan? It's clicking. I think that they have an offense where they can go to anywhere and drop 45. That's what they have, and it's a very nice feeling to walk into a season knowing you can walk in anywhere and drop 45. The defensively is the question to me, because outside of Simmons, I don't think there's a real game breaker. Now, like everyone, I know Randy Gregory is a monster, right? Speed to power menace. You want that guy on your team. How much will he play? Will he play? When he plays, his pressure rate, I think, is like 12.5%, which is in the uber category of rock star pass rushers, right? Will he be available? Then you get Bradley Chubb, who didn't play much of last year, right? And then when he came back, was terrible. He had 0 sacks? He had no sacks, right? I think
I'm
0
nearly certain
sacks.
it's under 1 anyway.
Yeah, it was 0 sacks. I think it was 11 pressures in 7 games. Dreadful. That is a dreadful figure. And then you see with him just checking out, right? He comes back from an injury. He's not played the full season. The team isn't very good. Von's gone, and he just checked out, and his run defense was terrible. So I don't know if you can just magically engage him to say, hey, now we're a team who's going to play ahead, and you can just tee off and go with Randy. You can see how that dynamic could be excellent. But if those guys, one of them isn't a true blue super duper star every single week, and there's no evidence that they can do that every single week because one's never around and the other guy is just not being the player he was supposed to be coming into the league, I don't think that defense can be good enough without Fangio sprinkling magic dust, because he's Vic Fangio over everything, to keep pace with that offense. So it's funny because they were, for 4 years, like you said, they just got the quarterback, and then they kind of timeline themselves out to now, well, they kind of need more than the quarterback now. I still think that there's issues on defense.
Yeah, it makes you think, why didn't they do that in 2016 or 2017 or 2018 or 2019? The team ranked 3rd in points allowed season ago. And you're right about, in terms of talking about that defense, since Miller's long gone now. He was a later fan favorite, obviously. Shelby Harris was a fan favorite. He was included in that deal to Seattle. Oh, Seattle. I love how we haven't talked about the Seahawks yet. I wonder why. Um, you're going to have guys like maybe Alex Singleton or maybe Jonas Griffith come in. I think a lot of fans are hoping that Alex Singleton can maybe become that, if not a leader, a fan favorite, and have Justin Simmons become an integral leader in that team. I don't know. Look at the last 3 weeks for the Broncos. Rams Christmas Day, Chiefs, and the last game of the season is against the Chargers. For that division, that AFC West schedule is incredible. And something tells me we'll be sitting, Ollie, on Sunday night on week 18, talking about who's losing their job on the Monday, because one of those 4 teams, well, Andy Reid's not going to lose his job. Brandon Staley's not going to lose his job. I feel like we're already going to be talking about the Raiders or the Broncos in week 18 about what happened. Seriously, and it's crazy if one of them do miss out.
The thing that they have going for them ahead of everyone else, the Broncos, that is they have a truly elite cornerback. And I'm looking at the rest of the teams in my head right now. I'm trying to think. Various Ward left. JC Jackson is a certain type of cornerback. I'm not sure he's necessarily your press and trail, stick him anywhere elite guy, although I do love him as a player. He is I'll say this. He's the best if you get him in the right setup and system. Patrick Surtain is a different breed of player. That is the one that you want. That's the one who's the 6'1", but he looks like he's 6'6", moves better than everyone else. And it's basically Marshawn Lattimore when he was at the true apex of his powers 3 years ago, right? Of you just plant him on anyone and then everyone else has a good time. And if you have a shutdown press corner on one side of the field and Justin Simmons, who is the rangiest guy basically in the league at center field, right? Then now you're covering both sides of the field pretty comfortably. No one else in that division has that at both safety and corner. The closest would be Derwin, Nazir, and then obviously JC Jackson with the Chargers, but they just don't play defense that way. And a lot of those guys outside of JC are hurt regularly. So that for them going into the season in that loaded division, they have something to their advantage that no one else has in the division where they've all been chasing receivers and paying receivers.
It's going to be intriguing. And I feel like we always need to talk about the Chargers now because you've said those names. We haven't talked about Garrett Bowles, who knows what's going to happen. He's been having trouble in training camp over the last few weeks. The Broncos are probably the one team in this where I think they're boom or bust. Genuinely, I completely agree with what you're saying about that offense and what could happen, but they really could go be boom or bust. I don't think like a lot of those players aren't used to the pressure, which comes with about 6 late games. We'll see what happens. Chargers, they're interesting though.
Yeah, well, just lastly on the Broncos, so I can get my prediction out, I guess, if that's what we're doing. I stand by this thing that I don't think they will gel that Hackett-Wilson situation right away. I think that will take some time. And as you mentioned, they kind of have this strange opening schedule where they need it to gel and it might not. And then it becomes a just monster at the time when you would want it to. So I just think that it's too many moving pieces in year one. It's very rare that quarterback of that level moves in year one and it's that good. I know that Stafford did it, but that was a kind of unusual situation. Russell Wilson isn't walking into a team that has Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on the other side of the ball. You know, he's not walking into a team that has Cooper Kupp and Andrew Whitworth at left tackle. So that team was legitimately a quarterback away in a division that was winnable. This team, I think, not so much.
Hell of a start as well in Seattle. That's their cup final. That's their Super Bowl. One for them. So it couldn't. I mean, if he goes in Seattle and balls out, I think the whole league will take notice. But they should be sitting 3-0 after 3 weeks.